Welcome back, folks, to the counselor's snowy garden. My son's very excited to tell you that we're planting chickens this year, but it's not what this is about. We are sitting at a balmy, 6 degrees right now with, however much snow that is, a couple feet at least. Kind of weird to be thinking about gardening with this. It's very beautiful, but maybe getting a little tired of the snow in winter. Regardless, though, we're gonna talk about a little bit of the plans I might have, and even though it's February, here I start planting indoors in March, so for preparation to move stuff outside. Last frost safe date's kind of second to third week in May, with warm stuff being more beginning of June. But time kind of flies. It may seem like a while, but that's 16 weeks away right now or so. So let's go to the table and just kind of talk about some plans and get excited. Well, here we are at the table with my beautiful drawing that I'm going to talk about soon. But I did a little counting, and we're actually roughly 14 to 16 weeks before I'd be planting safely stuff outside. Obviously stuff like lettuce, broccoli, cabbage, bok choy, onions, stuff like that. You start whatever weeks before the last frost date, 12, 10, 4, whatever. But you can move them out before the last frost date. They're very cold, hardy stuff that even benefit from frost. But there's all sorts of ways to track your garden or to plan your garden. Maybe I'm a little, old school or whatever. I like to do it like this. I like to see it on paper and be able to think it out and have it be all rough and scratchy. But I would really recommend having a gardening journal. I used to just write it down, and I'm not disciplined at it, but sometimes it is helpful, and I wanted to make it a little fancier last year, and this has kind of fell to the wayside. But I made my counseling notes and even made like little pointers that I've come up with. This is just based on reading books and online and stuff. Full honesty, I did all this work and I still find myself just Googling. But the world ever goes down or whatever, I'll have this, these pointers here. So, I just have planting, when to do indoor, when to do outdoor, temperatures, harvest, how to save the seeds, and then spots for notes, and then all that. This is really important stuff, though. Just some notes from last year. I planted onions early, and they didn't seem to be sprouting worth a crap. Was it too hot? Was it too cold? Ultimately, we just now finished up our onions. I think we even have some left over still to use. So obviously it ended up all right. But so I'll do my germination notes. I'll talked about peppers kind of being a pain to start. I talked about when I first fertilized my garlic. Just put some dates on there and took some notes. Took some summaries. Summer went well. Had a lot of stuff despite. See if I can find my. I have just, this right here. This is probably the most helpful. And I wrote the dates in last year. Really, I plan on Saturdays. Fridays and Saturdays are my kind of initial gardening days, especially for when I'm seed starting and stuff and fertilizing indoors and all that stuff. So you don't even need to write the dates down. So, just looking at this, we're in the second week of February right now. We could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 for roughly the end of May, roughly. I have to, kind of look and stuff and all that, but, just jot down when I start stuff. So, I cold planted onions last year, which basically means I planted them and set the seeds outside to try to test that method out. And, I was stratifying seeds by keeping them in the fridge or outside. I started some stuff. This is really helpful to have and be able to look at the next year, and just helpful for planning your stuff. But anyway, let's take a pause here and I'll just go into, my scratch and doodle here and kind of just talk about what I'm planning. All right, I think we can roughly see this. It's a little hard, my way my tripod thing clamps onto my phone. It's right across the middle of the screen. But what we have here is, this is what we're looking at from the porch view we just had. This is over here is where we enter the garden. We've got 9 raised beds here that are all connected by trellises that the tomatoes and cucumbers and whatnot grow up. We've got a couple beds here that are, these ones over here are 4x6. These are 4x8, just 2 of them. That's where corn and squash and pumpkins were. I'm gonna do a little different there next year. Then we have a couple of just random ones here. Got plants for there. So what I'm gonna do is, this is a 2.5 or a 3x6, I believe, that's got blueberries in it. Planning to fill that out. We're planning on putting a matching one here. Sorry, kid rattling over there. And then also kind of matching it over here for raspberries. I like stuff to be kind of symmetrical. So we'll have that, right? This might actually go a little further out here. What we're gonna do over here is now, I found that I really could benefit from dedicated root vegetable beds. Having garlic and, garlic's already planted. I think it's planted in this one, but having onions and potatoes and carrots kind of interplanted with other stuff, a little bit of a pain for when you have to harvest them, because, if you've got something that needs to stay in there, you're kind of disturbing the roots, especially with potatoes. So I thought that just having, these might be 3x6 rather than 4x6, and just filling these with whatever root vegetables. In order to make this symmetrical, I thought that right here would be a good spot for just a square bed, maybe 4x4 or so. And that would be my asparagus bed. I've actually always wanted to try out asparagus. And then that would also, leave in order to make this nice and symmetrical, another one or whatever. We're not sure about this one, but, this would be asparagus. These would be roots. That leaves all of this space over here for something. And there's another gate right here. I was thinking, I've always been planning for this area to be some trees, some dwarf trees, dwarf apple trees. I think you need them, I can't remember the distance, I'm still learning those, maybe 8 feet apart, which means 4 feet on either side. So really, we could fit, 5 trees or so over there, roughly. And that would fill out the area, our fence ends, right here, kind of like that. I got, as a gift this year, something I've wanted to try, and there's lots of videos on it. You kind of maybe see those fairly cheap and probably not too high quality Amazon greenhouses, which are, kind of made of aluminum poles and kind of cheap plastic that goes over it. There's quite a few videos out there of strengthening those up. I've even seen people get them strong enough that they've withstood the hurricane that went through Florida and the back east this year. They're cheap Amazon greenhouse that they kind of upgraded the frame with wood, survived. You saw how much snow we get here. That's a little different than a hurricane, You can strap something down all you want, but that's not going to help with snow load. I got this as a gift. Maximum, it was $120, $160. So, might be losing money a little bit, but I still want to try it out. So I plan, it's 20 by 10. I plan right over here. This will be, I don't know, roughly there. A 20 by, whatever, you get the picture. That's a 20 by 10. 20 foot long, 10 foot here, and it's about, up and down is about 8 foot, I believe. I'm gonna bust that out there, and inside there, that's gonna be, one for moving stuff out if I move it out a little early. I'm not looking to prolong my growing season over the winter too much. What I'm really looking for is a place that will stay a little warmer than the outdoor area here. And this will stay, over summer, probably 8 to 10, 15 degrees warmer. And it will hold the heat in too. So for stuff like melons, they really need, I mean, they're tropical. You know, I live in a dry, technically deserty area, you know. We don't get humidity. We don't get anything like that. We get, you know, lucky for us, we'd get 7 days of rain, maybe. So we're not a humid area. So this would allow me to maybe grow that stuff better. I had a tiny bit of success. I've also found that, you know, peppers would probably benefit from having that little bit of increased heat, a little bit, you know, might prolong it, might be able to put them out a little earlier. But really, it's just that during the summer, a little increased heat and maybe holding in a little humidity. So, you know, we'll have, sorry, my kids coughing and stuff. It's cold season. We'll have this framed in a little bit. Wood along here, you know, wood along the frame, kind of like this. And then also, you know, some up and down wood to go across the middle because there's a cross beam up there, and then it goes around like this with the aluminum piping. So, you know, some support beams through here and maybe another support beam across there. I'm going to plan to have just like shallower raised beds along the base, which will support in holding it together, kind of like this. The front will obviously be open, and then also probably some in the middle here, some raised bed. So that'll be that. That leaves this area right here. What I've been dreaming about is having at least a small flower patch, you know, which might be right here. And it looks a little big. It's probably not going to be 10 foot, but just to try out growing flowers. And then finally, right here in this area, either leave it open and not crowd it together, but what's the fun in that? You always want to have too much garden space. That's a good problem to have. I've actually never done in-ground gardening, you know, in gardening for not too long, 6 years, something like that. Always been raised bed because our ground sucks. Well, I got a big load of decent dirt that I'm going to till into the ground, and maybe these are, you know, in-ground patches here, you know, some rows of that for certain things. So I might have a little in-ground area there, and that will fill out the garden, actually, and, you know, who knows? Maybe that'll be enough. Maybe I'll keep dreaming, but that's the general plan. And, you know, I decide, I'm not one to necessarily, hey, be quiet. I'm not one to necessarily completely plan out, you know, here's where this plant's going. I know that tomatoes and stuff will go here, and, you know, cucumbers and maybe some beans that go up, and tomatoes, you know, stuff like that. But what goes in these areas here, I kind of more decide at the time. You know, I get my stuff planted and started, and, you know, obviously I know that in some of these areas there'll be lettuce, and some of these areas there'll be broccoli. You know, some of these areas they might be beans or zucchini or whatever. That doesn't matter too much to me. I just, you know, get the stuff started, have a general rough plan, and go from there. So hopefully this was fun. I mean, more so, if anything, this is just for me to look back on and see my ideas, and, you know, maybe this helps inspire some people. You know, my son talking about chickens. We got the chicks ordered. They're not going to be here till June, which initially I was like, man, that's late. I wanted to raise them inside, but you saw the weather. I mean, if we got them in spring, we're going to have to keep them in 6 to 8 weeks. If I get them in June, I'll only have to spend like 3 weeks inside, and, you know, I'll be able to take them outside every day a little bit, and gives me plenty of time to build the coop. But the plan initially was to have those over by the garden, but now I'm planning a different spot, and that will be in a video coming soon. But anyway, like I said, hopefully, you know, this inspires you to get looking at this and get reading and get planning, you know, get yourself a little journal, get looking at your seeds, and happy growing. I hope you guys have success starting your seeds, and, you know, for anyone that sees this, I hope you tune in on my journey. I'm planning on just, you know, maybe not so much doing tutorials because there's millions of those, but just kind of documenting my seed starting and gardening journey. So take care, enjoy the last of winter, and, you know, I hope you guys have an early spring and can get started before I can. Take care.